We deeply mourn the sad demise of our guardian, Mr. Zainul Haque Sikder, a valiant freedom fighter, one of the organizers of the glorious Liberation War, a great philanthropist, one of the close and trustworthy associates of Bangabandhu, chairman of Sikder Group of Companies, one of the country's largest industrial conglomerates. On 10th February 2021, this great visionary passed away at the age of 93. During his arrival, Mr. Salman F. Rahman, private industry and investment advisor to the Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Mr. Zainul Haque Shamim, Honorable Deputy Minister, Ministry of Water Resources, Mr. Tajul Islam, Honorable Member of Parliament, Mr. Aslamul Haq, Honorable Member of Parliament, and Mr. Sabir Hussain Chaudhry, Honorable Member of Parliament, were present at the airport to receive him. The Honorable President Abdul Hamid and the Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina expressed condolences at the demise of Mr. Sikder.
আর এখানে পারভিন শিকদার আমাদের সংসদ সদস্য, কিন্তু সেই হিসেবে না। আমাদের জাইনুল হক শিকদার সাহেব, তিনি সবসময় মুক্তিযুদ্ধে শুধু ছিলেন না, মুক্তিযুদ্ধের পক্ষের লোকদের যত করে সাহায্য সহযোগিতা করা এবং হাসপাতাল তৈরি করে মানুষকে চিকিৎসা দেওয়া, শিক্ষা প্রতিষ্ঠান গড়ে তুলে মানুষ শিক্ষার ব্যবস্থা করে দেওয়া এবং জনকল্যাণমূলক অনেক কাজ তিনি করে গেছেন এবং চরম দুঃসময় আওয়ামী লীগের নেতা কর্মীদের পাশে জাইনুল হক শিকদার সাহেব সবসময় থাকতেন। এবার আসলে মাননীয় স্পিকার এই আমাদের এই শোক প্রস্তাবটা দেখে আমাদের অনেক দেশের এত গুণীগারী, এত লোক গুণীজন মারা গেছেন যে সেটা ভাষায় বর্ণনা করা, আমি এরকম একে একে বলতে গেলে অনেক সময় লাগবে। তারপর বলবো যারা মারা গেছেন, যাদের নাম এসেছে এবং যাদের নাম আরো বাকি, আমি তাদের সকলেই আপনার মাকসাদ কামনা করি। আল্লাহ রাব্বুল আলামিন সবাইকে বেহেশতে নসিব করুন, সেটাই আমরা চাই। তাদের পরিবারের প্রতি আমার সমবেদনা জানাই।
The Premier prayed for eternal peace of the departed soul and conveyed her deep sympathy to the bereaved family. Besides, the Road Transport and Bridges Minister, the Finance Minister and the Planning Minister were among those who mourned at the demise of Mr. Zainul Haque Sikder. He passed away in the year when Bangladesh is celebrating its 50th anniversary of independence and 100th birth anniversary of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. He was fortunate enough to pass away in the same year of the biggest celebration of the country. To celebrate this big event of Bangladesh, many world leaders attended the celebrations like the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, the President of Maldives Ibrahim Mohammed Soli, the Nepalese President Bidya Devi Bhandari and the Bhutanese Premier Lotet Tshering. He was the first freedom fighter to have received state funeral twice. Mr. Zainul Sikder was honored with Guard of Honor and gun salute from the state in Dhaka and Shariatpur for his contribution in our glorious war of liberation and in the subsequent development of our war-torn nation. We pray for the salvation of the departed soul. Even though he passed away, we pray and we hope he is in heaven, and his legacy will stay in our hearts for the rest of our life. Mr. Sikder is survived by 5 sons and 3 daughters. He was a role model, a rare soul, and an epitome of humility. He was a people's champion who worked relentlessly for advancement of the underprivileged. He bestowed thousands of people with his kindness and advice. who showed their gratitude by gathering in huge numbers at his namaz-e-janazah, notwithstanding the corona pandemic, to pay their final respect. He was the first person ever to be allowed to leave UAE, although he passed away due to COVID-19 by the kindness of Excellencies, the Sheikhs of UAE. He was buried at Sikder Medical Raya Bazaar, Dhanmondi. He is the founder of the ZH Sikder Women's Medical College and Hospital, which is the country's first private hospital. He was also the founder of the country's first cardiac medical center. Mr. Zainul Sikder, a visionary man, was born on August 12, 1928. He was the chairman of the iconic Sikder Group, one of the country's biggest business entities. He was the creator of an international business conglomerate. Mr. Sikder had a very good relationship with President Bill Clinton and Pranab Mukherjee. Mr. Sikder established ventures in education. Mr. ZH Sikder was a living legend, a part of our history. During the 80s, he was the pioneer pathfinder for all Bangladeshi businessmen to become entrepreneurs. Mr. Z.H. Sikdar's Chelam that marks the end of 40 days mourning. Following his death was held on the 22nd of March 2021 at Mr. Sikdar's Raya Bazaar area. Thousands and thousands of well-wishers, followers and associates joined together to pray for the deceased soul of the extraordinary man. After the prayer session, meal was served to the guests and the underprivileged members of the community. More than 35,000 people attended his Chelam, where privileged and underprivileged people sat together to pray and have their lunch together. There were no divisions between the privileged and the underprivileged people. Mr. Sikdar's demise has been a great loss to the nation, and Bangladesh will miss Mr. Sikdar, his unconditional patriotism and visionary entrepreneurship.
गाड़ी